Chasing Out Modernism, Reframing Africa, Ousmane Sembène's La Noire. In his 1966 dramatic feature film La Noire, director Ousmane Sembène employs the visual motif of an African mask, black and white film, and images of newly politically independent Senegal to reveal modernism's reliance on African culture and construct a language of autonomous African visual arts traditions. Sembène was a Senegalese filmmaker, known as the father of African cinema. Made just 6 years after Senegal's political independence from France, the black and white creation La Noire was his first feature film. It follows Diawana, a Senegalese woman who comes to France to work as a nanny for a white family. In the film, an African mask functions to demonstrate European modernism's dependence on African culture for constructing a visual grammar that departed from previous Western styles of art. Modernism was a 19th and 20th century aesthetic movement that represented a shift from traditional modes of Western art towards new styles of creation. It was ludicrous because rather than formulating a new style of art, modernists stole from African sculptural forms to create works they considered high art, putting African visual languages on the walls of museums. Sembène ridicules this approach by underscoring an African perspective on the mask featured in the film. He introduces it as an item of little value to the work's Senegalese characters. When we first encounter the mask, a boy is playing with it as though it is a toy. When the film's protagonist, Diawana, takes the mask to give to her French employers, she offers the boy 50 francs in exchange for it. In today's currency, this is less than $1. This further emphasizes the value and purpose of the mask to Africans as a low-cost child's toy. When the French family receives the mask, a contrast forms between its value to Africans and its significance to Europeans. The French family prizes the mask, hanging it on the wall of their house as though it was a piece of art. This action symbolizes the misguided value modernists ascribe to African creations. They decontextualize works and place them in the realm of art objects, with little prior knowledge of their true significance. Additionally, Sembène's decision to create a black and white film produces a further satire of modernism. Black and white is a key aesthetic code of the movement, one that creates a visual binary opposition. Sembène interrogates this binary by repurposing the technique for African cinema. He uses black and white to emphasize the racial, socioeconomic, and cultural divisions between Diawana and the white family she serves, and underscore the pernicious nature of such rifts. Sembène also reclaims the technique for Africans. The film is revolutionary in that it represents an African filmmaker creating an African view of a white hegemonic structure. In conjunction with contrasting African and European attitudes to the mask, this choice imbues the film with humor. Modernism appears absurd, divisive, and weak in the face of African creative power. The visual motif of the mask, in conjunction with shots of Dakar, also serve to construct African creativity and highlight its emerging autonomy from Western influence. The film's scenes in Dakar center elements of Senegalese culture and history. While Diawana and her love interest walk through Dakar, Sembène incorporates shots of Place de l'Indépendance, the city's central square. The area commemorates Senegal's independence from France. Though the square's architecture is primarily the work of French colonialists, the Senegalese have renamed and reclaimed the area to honor their newfound political autonomy. Sembène echoes this action by constructing scenes of Senegalese people at work, focused on their tasks more than the colonial architecture around them. Also present in the square is a monument to the fallen soldiers of World War II. Sembène incorporates clips of a ceremony honoring the dead, and then cuts to shots of Diawana's boyfriend watching her climb on top of the monument. There is then a back and forth of low-angle shots of Diawana and high-angle shots of her boyfriend, as he warns her to get down from atop the structure. These contrasting views emphasize the man's deference for Senegalese history and Diawana's disinterest in it. Overall, the scene does the work of foregrounding an African creation, the monument, memorializing Senegalese soldiers, and demonstrating Diawana's ignorance of her country's culture. In a later scene, Diawana and her boyfriend lie in his bedroom, gazing at a French magazine. The two have their backs to photographs of Africans plastered all over his walls. Also in the boyfriend's room is a large tapestry printed with the letters MNC, a reference to Mouvement National Congolais, a Congolese political party formed with the goal of achieving independence from Belgium. Also featured on the tapestry are repeated images of Patrice Lumumba, a politician who served as the first prime minister of the independent Democratic Republic of the Congo. The visual repetition of his face emphasizes his significance both to Diawana's boyfriend and to African history. The photographs and tapestry declare a sense of African aesthetic and political self-determination, while Diawana's visible absorption in the French magazine underscore her fascination with European culture over that of her home continent. Her attitude, however, changes when she realizes the value of African heritage, symbolized by the mask she gave to the French family. Towards the end of the film, Diawana gazes at it, taking it off of the white wall of the apartment in Antibes. Later, she must fight with the Frenchwoman who tries to take the mask from her. Sembène's decision to film this scene from each woman's perspective as they spin, struggling for the object, heightens the drama of the exchange. Ultimately, Diawana is able to take back the mask, cherishing it as a symbol of Senegal and of Africa more broadly. While the mask's original function in the film is to reveal the ludicrousness of modernism, it later becomes a vehicle for conveying African power. The final scene of the film follows the child that played with the mask at the beginning. He has taken it back from the Frenchman. The boy wears it while following, almost chasing the Frenchman out of Dakar and back to Europe. During this scene, tracking shots of the two increase in speed until the man is almost running away from the little boy, underscoring the man's fear of Africaneity as represented visually by the mask. The scene functions as a metaphor for Africa chasing European systems of domination out of the continent, while also arguing for the potency of Africa to prevail over colonialist power. It demonstrates the continent's ability to return to a form of self-rule, echoing pre-colonial sovereignty. On the whole, La Noire d'A is a warning about the dangers of valuing the system of domination that is modernism over African cultural traditions from which it stole. It is also an assertion of the value of the continent's emerging creative and political autonomy and its capacity to echo pre-colonial self-determination.